up in the sky. Look, it's captivating, it's energizing, it's Eliances Heroes. Eliances is the destination for entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, inventors, leaders, celebrities, and startups, where our heroes in business align. Now, here's your host flying in, David Kogan, founder of Eliances.
Hey, I appreciate all the messages that I've been getting to of people who want my role. Well, guess what? Here you go. You can have my role because it is amazing. It is fun. But better yet, what I do is I share that experience with you and we interview amazing people. We unlock the secrets of their success. And by the way, thank you for the feedback we continue to have. Are you ready for this? If you haven't checked it out yet, that's right, the co-founder of Oracle. So make sure that you go to Eliances.com. That's Eliances, because why? As you know, it is the only place where entrepreneurs align. All right, we're going to be talking to someone today. You will definitely have recognized this company. All right, I'm going to give you a couple clues. It's only a $4.6 billion company. You ready for this? He is the executive VP and general manager of identity fraud and data labs, Experian. It's a 125-year-old company. Can you imagine that? We have with us Eric Haller. Eric, first of all, how's it like to work with such a company that has such a long history? I mean, 99% of companies 99.9 don't make it to 125 years.
Well, I like to say I've been with the company since before we hit $1 billion in revenue. And the person that initially hired me was knighted by the Queen of England and is now Sir John Peace. So it's a pretty cool history and some great roots going all the way back to the United Kingdom.
And how have you seen things change? Do things change much when you've gone from 1 billion to 4.6?
Oh yeah, of course. I think we're reinventing ourselves about every 3 or 4 years. So what we were successful with and how we gained success. Gosh, back in the 1990s, very different than how it is today. You wind up realizing that pivoting and moving quickly in the moment, like what we're just having right now with the pandemic, is a way of survival. And you don't grow unless you're competing to win.
Now, tell me, the biggest thing is we hear it in the news, Eric, every single day is about identity fraud. I mean, right, is this like the number one thing that's out there, or what people are doing to steal? I mean, no longer, right? You don't rob banks anymore. It's identity.
Yeah, with recent events and the pandemic, clearly there's been a very strong shift to a digital environment or faceless environment. So, the opportunity for your information to be stolen while you're conducting transactions online has grown significantly. I mean, ironically, we used to feel that going into a retail face-to-face environment was much safer, but because of the pandemic and the virus that you could be exposed to, we've been moving to online, feeling that's a much safer alternative because it's biologically safe. But we still have to have the same kinds of safeguards in place to protect ourselves and while making sure that we enjoy the customer experience that we are getting used to having.
So what are some of the top secrets or tips right now that companies can do and also individuals can do to protect their data?
So there's a few things. So on the company side, one of the challenges is making sure that you're doing business with a real live person on the other end, so that it's not a bot that's been created to seem like a person. It's not an emulator where somebody hijacks some software development tool that they use for an iOS device. It's not somebody that has figured out how to put some malware on a device and to creep into the middle of a session. And so having those tools in place, having all of those dimensions covered are important. It's not just about validating a shipping address anymore to make sure that you're sending it to a real life person's address, as much as it is making sure you're talking to a real life person while you're conducting business. On a consumer side, really simple things. How often do we just allow our credit card numbers to be stored in our browser software to make transactions a lot more convenient? We have to be aware of the fact that there's malware out there that can sniff out those credit card numbers and use them on your behalf without your permission. And so that's some very simple things that you can do.
Some of the questions we're getting is something about in regards to freezing. Does it pay to freeze your account with companies, so that people can't open accounts?
Yeah, so there's different ways obviously to protect your account. And Experian actually offers a service that you can freeze your account. The laws provide opportunity for you to freeze your account with all the bureaus. The challenge with freezing can be if you are credit active, to go through the process of unfreezing. So it really is up to the individual if they see that as something. Some people are like, I got all the credit I need. I think I'd rather just put myself in a deep freeze. But for those of us that might want to respond to that great card offer, you're shopping in an Amazon or another site, and it says, hey, you can get some money off if you take our card and start a new relationship there. Freezing and unfreezing can be a bit challenging in that environment.
And I'm going to ask you a few things in regards to AI stuff, because we're talking again with Eric Huller. He is the VP and General Manager of Identity Fraud and Data Labs at Experian, $4.6 billion company. You can reach him by going to Experian.com. That's Experian.com. Why? Because you're listening to me, David Kogan, host of the Eliances Hero Show. So, the number one place to go to unlock secrets of incredible people like Eric, Eliances.com. That's Eliances.com. All right, Eric, we keep hearing this thing, AI, AI, AI. How does that tie into what you're doing?
Well, in a lot of different ways. One of the hats I wear is I manage our data labs, which is the R&D part of Experian that is responsible for developing new products across all of our businesses, across all of our geographies. I manage labs in San Diego, London, Sao Paulo, Singapore. We get a variety of different challenges that are facing the world. Machine learning, or AI, actually is how we extract the insights from information to allow us to solve a lot of critical problems. I'll give you an example. Recently, just with the pandemic in Brazil, our lab spearheaded a coalition of over 20 different companies pulling together, including guys like Amazon and SAP and Microsoft, and including 10 world-class universities like the University of Chicago.
Oh.
All data was pulled together to allow for a few things. One is tracking the spread of COVID disease throughout the country of Brazil. Secondly, to enhance how we model for disease spread, which, as is still, we just hit this pandemic. There's a lot of innovation that's taking place around disease spread. So it's AI that actually is able to give us some perspective on where those flare-ups might occur, who's at the greatest vulnerability at risk, and how to best get treatments to those who are likely to be in need. And as a result, we developed a marketplace to transition supply like ventilators and PPE to regions of the country that may not have that in time. So we're able to predict where that need would be. A great example is we wound up shipping 50 ventilators from Sao Paulo to the province of Amazonia to save lives. So there's some fantastic results. It's not always about fraud detection and credit risk, which we use AI for in a variety of ways, but actually some great things to help save people's lives.
Well, Eric, man, it sounds like you've got a really interesting job and a fun position too. I mean, creating and working with the coolest thing, and having being surrounded by experts and having such a solid company behind you and funds and all that. How did you get the job at Experian and then move into this role?
Well, I had a background in startups. I co-founded a company that did identity fraud detection, and also worked in a startup that did products to help the underserved banking community across the United States. But actually, I came to Experian to run a P&L, $450 million P&L, and saw the opportunity for us to conduct real, R&D, organic development across the enterprise, especially in this shift into all this different kinds of data that's proliferating, and I'll call it the field of big data. I did that 10 years ago, and got funding within Experian to start up the first lab in San Diego with 7 people. And since then, it's just been a wild ride. We've been able to create a lot of blockbuster products for the company, generating 9 figures in revenue, growing at over 100% CAGR for 5 years in a row. So we've had a fantastic wild ride, and now we've got these labs all over the world. About 110 data scientists and engineers. and it's been quite a fun experience.
We've got a little less than a minute left, but I think it's important too, is with the youth in the world and stuff, where they can expand and become professional and make their mark in the business world and helping others, like clearly you have, and mentioning about the ventilators and stuff. I mean, Experian doing so much. What kind of secrets maybe can you share with parents now, especially everything going on within COVID, of what maybe they can do, having spent more time with their children, to instill these things of like what you can do, the skills and the things that you need now to be able to grow and be successful and make your mark?
Well, all of us as parents know that our children have their own unique superpowers, and you can see that when they're maybe 2 or 3 years old, and as they grow. I would say what I do with my own daughters: fuel the superpower. I don't know if it's much about transitioning into STEM and math. I think you might hear that from a guy who runs a bunch of data labs, but I do think that each child has something in them that's special, and making sure that you can fuel that passion and help them develop what that specialty is. One of my kids was fantastic at puzzles at 2 years old, and she would just rifle through puzzles super fast. We wound up fueling that. She wound up getting really good at math. Wound up getting a college degree in computational applied math, and is now a data scientist. So it's not that we wanted her to grow up to be a data scientist. It was the fact that we saw her have an interest, and we fuel that interest. And I think we can all benefit having people in our lives to help us grow and learn what we're good at, what we have passion around.
Well, excellent. Well, Eric, you're leading the way in fighting identity fraud, helping customers and companies keep their data safe. You know what? That's a hero. Eric Haller, Executive VP and General Manager of Identity Fraud and Data Labs. Make sure that you go to Experian.com. That's EXPERIAN.com. This has been David Kogan with the Eliances Hero Show.